let's be real. 10 months coming back from an Achilles injury is, I mean, modern medicine and good physical therapy and good strength training can help, but that don't help for game speed and game situations.
Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Odd Coaches Podcast, the global authority on coaching leadership, where coaching wisdom meets real talk. I am your host, Dr. Keith Adams, and on today's Wind Up Wednesday edition, segment 1, Jayson Tatum's improbable comeback. And now, will we hear about the Celtics day after day as they chase a title? I think the answer is yes. In segment 2, the freshman takeover, navigating the 2026 NBA draft board. We're going to talk about more than just the best 3 players because it's a lot to pick from. And in segment 3, the WNBA labor war. Do we have a house divided? And a house divided cannot stand. With us today, basketball correspondent Danny Thompson, and our favorite administrator to keep me leveled is here, Robert Abney. Gentlemen, OCP top 6. So you've got in the Eastern Conference, the Pistons, the Celtics, the Knicks, the Cavs. Stop selling me the Cavs. At some point, somebody's going to switch on the perimeter. The Raptors and the Sixers. Is Joel Embiid still playing? I'll ask Danny that later. In the play-in, we've got the Heat, the Magic, the Hawks, and the Hornets. Note to the national media, the Hornets are playing very well, but last I checked, I did say play in. So that's just a large way to travel. Again, they're playing very, very well, but can they actually do something in the postseason? Lottery bound, Bulls, Bucks, Nets, Wizards, and Pacers. Hottest teams, Cavs, Pistons, Boston, the Hornets, and the Heat have had a nice 10-game stretch. In the Western Conference, OKC. So OKC has been staggering, but I guess guys are getting healthy because they're still number 1. Spurs are 2, Wolves are 3, Rockets are 4, Denver 5, and the Lakers are 6. So we got another 2 weeks of talking about them. Play in the Suns, the Warriors, the Blazers, and the Clippers, and lottery bound Memphis, Dallas, Utah, the Sacramento Kings, and the New Orleans Pelicans. I think Zion is hurt again, but I'm not sure. Hottest team, Spurs, OKC, and the T-Wolves. But gentlemen, our story of the week is the return of Jayson Tatum. So Jayson Tatum's returning just 10 months after a right Achilles tear suffered in May 2025 against the Knicks. Surgery was performed by specialist Martin O'Malley within 24 hours of the injury. You have better insurance than I have. So he debuted in Boston, against Dallas and Boston, played well. So Danny, I'm going to start with you. He's back. He's better than ever, I'm guessing. What do you think about Boston now that Jayson Tatum's in?
My opinion for Boston hasn't changed. I still think they're a contender in the East. I need to see him play a much more continued stretch of minutes than what he got in his first game back, because it's going to get to the point where he's going to need to play some heavy minutes, and teams are going to really test the strength of that Achilles. Because let's be real. 10 months coming back from an Achilles injury is, modern medicine and good physical therapy and good strength training can help, but that don't help for game speed and game situations, because he's going to have to go up against guys who have been playing for the entire season, and they're revved up, ready to go, especially when they're getting close to playoff time. So I need to see him, get more game time action before I can start saying the Celtics will be they're full on lock coming out of the Eastern Conference, because I'm still not picking them over Detroit. Because right now in the East, it's only them or Detroit right now. And I'm not seeing anybody else put a pony into the competition right now. So if he can play, I say 85% of what he was, because one thing about Jayson Tatum, he's getting to the point where he's not known to being explosive like that. And an Achilles injury doesn't help. So he's going to have to learn to play similar to what Kevin Durant plays. He's going to have to learn to use his jump shot, use his height, because his explosiveness is, I don't know if his explosiveness is going to be there coming off of his Achilles injury. And like I said, teams are going to test that once it gets closer and closer to playoff time. So I'm still high on the Celtics. My opinion has not changed. They are still playing great basketball with Jaylen Brown. To me, I think he's the MVP at this point. But yeah, my opinion on him has not changed.
All right. So, Robert, I'm going to come to you and say, okay, the Celtics do not play any more back-to-backs the rest of the year. There goes one argument from Coach Adams. The playoffs, especially the first round, it seems like it's 3 months long. So, okay. So you got a chance to ramp him back up. You also have the dynamic that it's not like he hasn't played with a lot of these guys, but that's still an Achilles tendon injury. It's still 10 months. Sometimes Coach Adams is a little overcautious. Okay. What did you think when you heard he was actually going to come back?
Well, to me, you left out a important part of the piece that you also have him under contract for $300 million. I don't understand why they're pushing this issue. I mean, sometimes it's okay to say, you know what, we're just gonna hold off. I don't know if the impetus for him to play is coming from the Celtics, the team, it's coming from him. I don't know, but to me, this just sounds like a terrible idea. The whole thing just sounds like a terrible idea. Sit the rest of the year, make sure you're right. There's a significant difference when you're talking about that kind of injury between 10 months and 18 months. I do not understand it at all. I don't agree with it. And I would not be shocked if he injures himself again. I know they can manage the load because they're not playing back-to-backs and the playoffs give them time to ramp back. I know all that. To me, this is a terrible idea. And I'm not sure, it's not going to end well. I'm just not sure how it's going to end badly.
Yeah. So, Danny, I'm going to come to you because you know Coach Adams and his overprotective nature of his players. Fans, Fowler and Campbell played for me in high school. We played at the state championship. He was already signed to George Mason. And first couple of minutes of the state championship game, he sprains his ankle. And we're at the University of Maryland, so we have access to the University of Maryland's trainers. His ankle is not good. We leave him be. And the team is looking down at the sidelines, but Coach Adams isn't because we're going to play with what we have. It's halftime. The Maryland trainers say it is pain as tolerated because he cannot hurt it any more than what he already did. And we're walking out, and he says to me in a conversational tone, "Can I try?" And I'm like, "Do you want to try?" "Yes, coach, I'd like to try." "Okay." Trainer says, you can't hurt it anymore. You'd like to try. I'm okay with you trying. And damn it if we don't almost win the state championship coming back from 10 and we lose at the buzzer. But all of that had to happen for me to play one guy at the end of a season. This is a torn Achilles. And 10-month of a rehab. My wife, Tamasha, did undergrad with kinesiology and was like, I know medicine is modern, but I'm paused. And again, they have better doctors than I have. This is not Kaiser Permanente. So, Danny, with all of that being said, knowing me too, and knowing you as a player, you want to play, don't you?
Coming from someone who went through a season-long injury and tearing his ACL before he even set foot in a college game, I get it. I want to play. There were times I'll be frothing at the mouth like, yo, I know I can get out here and play. But I also know it's different trying to come back so quickly from a season-ending injury that most players are like, you know what? I'm just going to sit this out. So I if I was him, I would be salivating to play right now if I know I could go. I would be losing my mind. But I also know this. If I'm looking at the team and I'm seeing they are playing phenomenal without me, I'll sit back and rest and recover, get my strength back up, and then come back the next season. Because when you think about it, I know it's not an Achilles injury, but Kyrie was like, nah, I'm not coming back this season. I'm going to sit this out and rest and recover. And then if I'm Boston, I'm thinking like this, and Robert brought it up, very good. You're assigned to a $300 million contract, homie. If I'm Boston, I am sitting here like, we are investing way too much money into you right now. So I'm thinking you need to sit down. You need to rest. I get there's an old adage that I've heard, and I've heard it for a long time. Sometimes you got to protect the player from him or herself. And I get it. He feels good. He feels like he can play. Hey, if you can play, go for it. If this was me, I'm like, let me collect my check, rest and recover, come back for the next season. Because I know I can do a bit more damage at a much higher percentage of health than I can now coming back from 10 months.
Yeah. All right. So, Robin, I want you to close this out.
I mean, there's no way he's 100%. There's no way.
He's been cleared. So let me couch it to you and then close this out. So in education, we often say just because we can't do something doesn't mean we're going to do it. I know, but we're not going to do that. So with all of that being said, any final thoughts, Robert, before we wrap this segment up?
Again, I mean, there's no way he's 100%. There's no way. He's been cleared, okay? I don't know what that 70%, 75%, 80%. He's not 100%. He's going, I mean, you're physically, I have never had a major injury. So I probably don't fully understand, but I can't imagine that there isn't a little bit of trepidation in the back of his mind when he tries to do stuff that's like, maybe I shouldn't do that. Or, and that little bit of hesitation, that little bit of trepidation, that's how you hurt yourself again, because you're stopping and thinking about what you're doing rather than what you've done your whole career, which is just do it. And I don't like it. I don't like it. But what do I know? I'm just a guy over here on a podcast.
And with that, in segment 2, we're going to take a deeper dive in the 2026 draft board as we get you ready for March Madness from the NBA perspective. We'll be right back on the Odd Coaches Podcast. Hi, everyone. Dr. Keith Adams here. And for over 30 years, I've dedicated my life to helping student athletes succeed, not just on the fields and the courts, but in the classroom and beyond. And that's why I founded the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project understands that finding the balance between academics and athletics is crucial for long-term success. That's why the CKA Save Project offers a range of programs, including personalized consulting, mentorship, and coming in 2027, our innovative Gap Year Basketball Academy designed to assist both young men and women reach their full potential both on and off the court. I'm incredibly excited to announce that the CKA Save Project is now partnering with the Cascade Sports Network. This partnership will allow us the opportunity to amplify our message and reach even more student athletes through the Odd Coaches podcast and other exciting initiatives. Join the CKA Save Project and the Cascade Sports Network as we empower the next generation of student athletes. Visit CKA on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org to learn more. Let's work together to find the balance and help unlock your potential. Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast. And in segment 2, we are a week away from Selection Sunday. And please note that during the NCAA tournament, our Wednesday show will primarily focus on the men's tournament starting next week. But to get you going, let's talk about the freshman takeover, navigating the 2026 NBA draft board. So the 2026 NBA draft class is shaping up, according to experts in the industry, to be historic, potentially breaking the 2017 record of 11 freshmen in the lottery. So while the talent is crazy, we want to break down beyond the big three. So we've talked about Darryn Peterson, and somebody's going to pick him. We've talked about Dybantsa, and somebody's going to pick him. We've talked about Cam Boozer. Somebody's going to pick him. But Danny, other than those cats, who has caught your eye that you're like, okay, NBA fans, you better watch this team in the tournament because it might be your next Colin Canope?
Well, you can take off the guy I picked last week, Caleb Wilson, because he's done for the season with a broken
I
thumb.
wouldn't have had him out there anyway, but that's
right.
see segment 1.
See segment 1. So let's bookmark him because y'all know how I feel about him. The other guy who has caught my eye this entire season has been Darius Acup Jr. down in Arkansas. He is that change of pace guard who puts so much pressure on the rim. He is pretty much, I'm going to get it and go. And if you can stop me, cool. If not, I'm scoring or a good thing is coming from it. Because even when he gets in the paint, he has the vision to be able to facilitate the basketball to other people around him. We're talking about a guy who leads the SEC in scoring and assists. So he is an offensive point guard dynamo coming out of the draft. Now, where do I have my reservations with him? Is they hide him very well on defense. He is not the greatest defender as far as pick and roll plays go. But then again, that's a whole nother tangent because I don't like how no one plays pick and roll defense nowadays. It bothers my mind that a lot of these guards and bigs do not know how to play defense when the pick and roll is coming. I'm like, yo, you should see me watching TV and stuff. I'm like, here's the screen, belly the screen, do something, go under the screen. If you know he's a shooter, get up in him. If he's not a shooter, go under. But they're not doing that. That's a whole other tangent that'll get me going for hours and hours on end. So I dive balls to that point. But he is the other guy that has caught my eye as far as the freshmen go. Upperclassmen, that's a whole other conversation because there's Jackson Lombard out in Michigan and Thomas Howell down in Florida. Those are the three guys that caught my eye at this entire season.
All right, Robert, outside of the big three that we've talked about endlessly, is there anybody else that's caught your eye that NBA fans with lottery picks should say, you might want to pay attention to this team in the tournament?
So I watch probably more Big 12 than anything else at this point. I really like Kingston Flemings from Houston. Point guard, off shooting guard, kind of does a little bit of both for Houston. But I mean, he's just so smooth. He plays under control. He has a mid-range game to him. He likes to get to, 15, 18 feet and hit shots from there. And he can get anywhere he wants to get to hit a shot. Defensively, he's going to be solid because he's playing for Kelvin Sampson, and you can't play for him if you don't play defense. So, defensively, he's going to be pretty good. Of all of those other freshmen beyond those three, he's the one who catches my eye the most.
Yeah. So for me, I'm going to take you on the inside, fans, in terms of how I evaluate talent. No matter what level I worked at, whether it was high school, college, small, pro basketball, I look for 6 things when I'm evaluating talent to fit for my team, because that's the only team I have to care about. I can't care about your team. So in no particular order, your ability to pass is 1. Your ability to shoot is 2. Your ability to handle the ball is 3. Pass, shoot, your ability to play defense is 4. Your availability to hit free throws is 5. And then your coachability is 6. Those are the 6 things that I'm looking for. So as we look at all of this talent, try to match up with whatever your team needs to those 6 items. And that's kind of what I'm looking for in terms of any of these teams available. Like, take our local Washington Wizards. They need talent. So I'm looking at who's the best available person, and I'll figure out their role. But a team like Dallas already has some pieces in place, so I'm going to maybe pick somebody else that fulfills a need. So it goes back and forth. So, Robert, I want to close with it. Same thing with teaching. When we're picking talent, sometimes I just need a math teacher, and sometimes I just need to get this hot young thing coming out that I'm like, hey, I just think I can mold it. If you're in the NBA and you're watching the tournament, how are you selecting? Are you selecting on best available, or are you going to go need? I'm just curious your thoughts.
I mean, to me, I'm always going to select the best player available.
Now, the Jordan rule with Sam Bowie.
Now that said, I mean, it doesn't make sense, using Dallas as an example, it doesn't make sense for Dallas to select a 6'9" point forward, because they got one of those, and he's pretty good, right? But you can't tell me that you can't find a spot for a 6'7" wing who can defend and shoot and handle the ball and do all of the things that you want them to do at a very high level. You can't tell me you can't find a place for that guy. You can't tell me you can't find a place for that guy. So that's kind of my thought process. It kind of helps that for the most part, these guys who are coming out, that's kind of where they fit. That's kind of the role they fill anyway. So I've always been a proponent. You take the best player available and you figure something out.
All right. So, fans, with that, in segment 3, WNBA. So we've got an issue in terms of when our show comes out, the March 11th deadline has happened. So not only will we talk about the labor impasse, we will talk about what you have to do once this deal comes in. We're going to be positive. We'll be right back on the Odd Coaches Podcast.
Today's student athletes face pro-level challenges without pro-level support. The CKA SAVE project is here to change that. For 16-plus years, Dr. Keith Adams and his team have provided comprehensive academic and athletic support from middle school through post-graduation transitions. NIL guidance, transfer portal navigation, academic coaching, career planning, they've got it covered. The CKA SAVE project. When your future is on the line, experience matters. Learn more at www.ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast in segment 3. All right. March 11th deadline is forthcoming. It's March 10th deadline, and the CBA is undone. You also have Unrivaled making in-person money and selling out NBA arenas, but not getting TV watches and views like it did in the previous year. You also had a scathing letter from Vice Presidents Kelsey Plum and Brianna Stewart to the Executive Director Terry Jackson. You also have a drop dead date for team signage. This is a lot. So, Danny, not only do we have a deadline date, but we also have to deal with the operations of the league. So I'm going to save our administrator, who will hopefully walk us through what to do. But tell me the updates that we need to know headed into these last days, sir.
Let's see. We are recording. It is March 8th. The deadline is Tuesday. And the only thing that they are separated on is still the revenue share. That is the big piece now. The league is willing to go higher salary cap. They're not worried about that. They're worried about something that we have to discuss every week when it comes to these labor negotiations. What is the revenue share going to be? Is it going to be before expenses or after expenses? Which is something no one knows because we had no idea what the expenses are for the league. So the thing that caught my eye is Caitlin Clark made some comments about the labor negotiations. And this came out a little bit late in the evening yesterday. And this is her quote. Quote, "I don't understand why we don't just get in a room and iron it out and shake hands. That's how business is. You look each other in the eye, you shake hands, you respect both sides. For me, that's what I love to see." Now, here's a problem with her comments. Ain't no way you're going to get owners to come in and just shake hands and say, "Here, we're going to give you what you're asking for." But they're still trying to find a way to save themselves some money too. So if the league and if the owners, because that's pretty much who the league is, if the owners and the players cannot come to an agreement on revenue sharing at this point, what are they going to do? Because they still got to go through, again, 2 expansion drafts, free agency, the actual draft, because there are players coming out that people are going to pay attention to in the NCAA tournament, and they're going to wonder who are they going to play for next in the WNBA the upcoming season. You have too much to figure out right now between the deadline, which is in 2 days, which is March 10th, and the start of the league, which is in May. And you still got all of this stuff to iron out. If I'm a GM, I am losing my mind because we still got to figure out who we're going to draft, who we're going to sign to the team. Because again, we've been saying it for the past 4 weeks. Majority of the league are free agents. 80 to 90% of the players are free agents right now going into the offseason. So they better get in this room. I don't know when they're going to get done because this is literally the final countdown until March 10th. So they better figure it out because if not, again, we've said it before, this 30th WNBA season was supposed to be a very milestone season for them coming into it. It's going to go down the drain.
All right. So, Robert, we're going to be positive. We're going to understand that deadlines spur actions and something's going to happen. So when this episode comes out on Wednesday, Robert, what's your immediate plan of action now that a deal is done? Because we have to believe nobody's going to leave that money on the table. How would you approach moving into the new league season with a new deal?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the first thing that the GMs are going to have to understand is, okay, how does this new, and hopefully they're already doing this, how does this new deal impact us? What does this mean to us? What's our cap? All of that other, what's our housing allowance? All that other stuff that they have to make sure is included in the contract. They've got to understand that. Hopefully they also have already had a plan. And hopefully I can't imagine that there weren't conversations taking place about, at least with your existing team, about who's staying and who's not, right? So hopefully once you get the go ahead, you've had those conversations with those people, you can get ink on paper with those folks and get them back on your team, so that you have an idea of when it comes time for the draft. Okay, this is what we need. I mean, yes, best available, and this is what we need. Can all of that happen in that short a period of time? I don't know.
Yeah.
And here's
problem.
here's the other question though. So that's the drop dead date is March 10th. Okay. And I think that there were always deadlines that I had that I told my staff. Here's the deadline. Okay. The deadline I told my staff, that was never the real deadline. The real deadline was always the real drop dead date was always a little bit later, because that gave us some room to adjust and do other things we needed to do. So I don't know, is that drop dead date is the real drop dead date? I would submit that it's probably not, but man, every day you wait just makes things more and more complicated for the teams. And you want your 30th season to be a showcase. And what you're doing is you're setting your teams up for it to be anything but.
And you laid it out perfectly. All right, so fans, we're going to take you behind the scenes of academic intervention. And one of the things we talk to teachers about, one of the things we talk to students about is due date is the day the assignment is due. Deadline date is the day that I'm telling you I want you to bring it to me so I can do what I need to do. And then there's a third date, and it's called the drop dead date. That is the last day I can do anything with you because I got contractual obligations. And if it's a choice between you and me, it's not a choice, it's a decision, and I choose me. So, Danny, with that in mind, with a little CKA Adamsism in it, where do you think this is after hearing from both Robert and myself? The due date, the deadline date, or the drop dead date? Talk to me.
I don't think this is a drop dead date. I think right now this is just a deadline, because I'm with you. I remember professors of saying, look, this is the due date, right? But this is the deadline. Anything after the deadline, they usually give like a good week grace period after the actual deadline. I don't think they picked the drop dead date just yet. I think they're still at the deadline period, because again, the Players Association did a survey and we all seen it. It's on social media everywhere. 84% of the players would not agree to this to a quickly agreed CBA with the way the league is putting out their proposal. Because right now they're saying, I think it's like 50% of the net, which is only 15% profit for the players, which is only a 6% increase. So they're not going to agree to that. Again, I've repeated it. I repeat it again. This is not the drop dead date just yet. I think I'm with y'all. I'm staying positive. They can get to the point where they can iron this out. I say maybe they got 2 more weeks before they actually get a drop dead date. Because once they get to that point, I mean, what are you going to do?
All right. So, Robert, close us out. What do you think is going to happen? Because when this episode comes out on Wednesday, are we going to get an extension? Or are we going to have a bunch of players saying, I'm going to just stay for the year and whatever? Close us out before we wrap up, sir.
I mean, personally, I think we'll get to March 10th and nothing will happen. I think there's going to be a whole lot of nothing. I do think as we go along, you're going to start to see probably more of the stars come out publicly saying, hey, let's figure this out. And I think as that happens, the players lose a lot of leverage because, the stars are going to drive what happens in this league. Probably more so than the unions in the other league. If the stars come out publicly, and we've kind of already seen that with Kelsey Plum and Breanna Stewart, they've come out and said, hey, we've been kept in the dark. We don't want to strike. We need to figure this out. And basically, you're taking away the leverage that the president of the union has to negotiate when you do that, because, the owners are going to say, well, your players don't want to strike. That. Even if 84% of your players do want to strike, which I think is what they found, the players don't want to strike because it's those 16% that people come to see. Those are the ones that put the butts in the seats. So I suspect that they'll figure it out as long as we get to if we get to April 1st and nothing has happened, that would be the drop dead date, I think.
Now, here's something new that none of us have really spoken about. Everything they've done so far has been electronically because, again, Unrivaled has been going on. And majority of the WNBA executive committee is in Unrivaled. The season's over. So now they can actually stick in a room and talk to each other like adults, not like this is a COVID area classroom where you have to sit and be like, hey guys, hopefully you're paying attention. So now we're going to start seeing some movement. That's why I'm saying when you ask me earlier, is this a drop dead date? No. Because now they can actually get in a room with each other and have these conversations.
All right. So with that, next week starts. Go ahead. Did you have something, Robert?
Well, you wanted to talk a little bit about Unrivaled.
Here's the piece with Unrivaled. Not everybody is in Unrivaled. Not everybody is getting the checks. And similar to the 87 NFL strike, when people crossed the picket line like it was going out of style, we have already seen chinks in the armor, and that's what management hopes for. Management hopes you turn heel on yourself, and then you're going to get a bad deal. So with the Unrivaled piece, you're going to see, in my prediction, a lot of folks signing one-year deals to stay with their teams because I just got paid from Unrivaled. I'm good for next year. So let's table, this conversation until next time. Same thing. They've already folded on the housing. So I still think they're not going to get the deal they want. You got your stars not caring as much. You've got your agents calling saying, I don't know. It's just a lot of extra. So when there's a lot of extra, you can tell from education, we're just trying to get this thing done. And hey, look over here. Don't look over there. So a lot of sweeping under the rug. So Unrivaled is like territorial wrestling. They're drawing in cities that they know they can draw in, but nobody's clicking and watching on TV. And we like them, but I didn't watch unless something else was passing through. So, yeah, I'm just thinking they're going to fold like always.
I could not even tell you what channel Unrivaled was on
TNT and I think True TV.
TNT and True TV.
No idea.
And the only time we know True TV is during the NCAA tournament. Yeah, and there's some show called Impractical Jokers or something. I don't.
Yeah, and they have some weird dude who's their studio host for March Madness. I can't even Lefko or something. He's terrible. Terrible.
So thank you, Robert, for reminding me of that. So with that, starting next week, we'll mention the NBA, we'll mention the WNBA, but we'll primarily focus on the men's NCAA tournament on Wednesday's show, and primarily focus on the women's NCAA tournament on our Thursday show. Because March Madness is where everything is, and especially if you're doing things strictly for entertainment purposes only, we're going to have some teams for you to follow. So on behalf of our cavalcade of stars, I'm Dr. Keith Adams saying thank you for listening and or watching the Odd Coaches Podcast, the global authority on coaching leadership, where coaching wisdom meets real talk. So seen on the Cascade Sports Network, and we will see you on the sidelines. Until next time, take care.
We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches Podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches Podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Follow the Odd Coaches Podcast on the X platform at Odd Coaches. Follow Dr. Keith Adams and the CKA Save Project on social media at CKA Save Project. For more information about the CKA Save Project, visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches Podcast.